So hello and welcome to the KASHISH 2020 virtual panel discussion. This panel discussion is really special because it's we are talking about the future of film festivals amidst COVID lockdown. And I'm really happy to have such an amazing panel, a set of panelists. We have Paul Sridhar from Frameline, one of the oldest LGBTQ film festival. And we have Andrea Wilson from Inside Out Toronto, the biggest LGBTQ film festival in Canada. And we have Aseem Chhabra, the New York Indian Film Festival, which has been one of the pioneers. And we have Carrie Sani, the festival director of the Indian Film Festival in London. And of course, Kriti Kiran, the festival director of Barbie Film Festival, from one of the biggest film festivals in India and the Prime Festival in Mumbai. Really amazing to have all of you on the panel. Really appreciate you joining in at different time zones to discuss what is the way ahead in terms of so I think I would like to ask each of you, what is your festival and when did it start? Just a brief idea about the festival, and so how is it, what has been the audience base and how is it shaped over the years? A brief thing. Why don't you start, Smriti?
First of all, hi everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. This is lovely. Sridhar, thank you for putting this room together. Very, very grateful. And also congratulations on, managing in such short time to take Kashish digital. I'm sure it's not easy. So, congratulations to you and your team. Just to very briefly sum up what MAMI is, this is the 22nd year of the festival. And in 1997, some of the top of the line filmmakers and film professionals in India decided that they needed to, start a festival because they knew about cinema the most and bring some of the best films, Indian films, and some of the best, international films to the audience here. And MAMI, since then, is the only privately funded festival in India. It's really an audience-led festival. We are completely dependent on sponsorship. So there are no ticket sales or anything, and that is not what keeps us going. But I think one of the strongest things that differentiates MAMI from anything is its curation and the passionate audience that it has. We've had incidents where people have tried to break down screen doors to get into films. I know it's not ideal, but that is what keeps us going. So that's all I have to say. Otherwise, it's very difficult to sum up MAMI. I can't even think of think of MAMI in like a paragraph. I can speak all night, but I would like to, throw this out to Carrie now.
Thanks, Riti. So I'm Carrie Rajendaswani. I'm the director of the London Indian Film Festival, which is Europe's biggest South Asian film festival. We last year covered 26 cinemas, 86 screenings in 4 cities. So it's reasonably a good-sized festival. This year we were challenged by, obviously, like everybody else, our festival is normally in June. So we had to switch the festival to a digital festival. I'm pleased to say that we, as far as I know, we were the first Indian festival to do that, and also pleased to say that we seem to have made a go of it. We managed to put both award-winning short films, great feature films on, and some great Q&As and in-conversations. And we've had about heading towards 10,000 tickets sales or free tickets, actual viewings of our film and content. So it's looking exciting, and we're looking at now at a hybrid model of our festival moving forwards.
Great. I mean, it's amazing that the way you're going forward. Aseem Chhabra?
So, yes, hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Aseem Chhabra. I'm the festival director of the New York Indian Film Festival. I'm actually in Delhi, or rather outside Delhi in Noida. This is our 20th year. The New York Indian Film Festival is run by an arts umbrella called the Indo-American Arts Council, which is 22 years old. And the New York Indian Film Festival was started in 2001, in November of 2001, just a couple of months after the 9/11 tragedy that hit New York City. The mayor of New York City was encouraging arts organizations to program events that could bring people back into theaters, because people are just frightened of going out because of the terrorist attacks. Over the years, we started off as a diaspora festival. We closed that year with Meera Nair's Monsoon Wedding. She had just brought it from Venice. And over the years, we have sort of evolved from a diaspora festival to basically an Indian film festival, larger Indian film festival. In fact, substantial number of the films that we show actually do come from India. What else can I tell you? This year, our festival was scheduled April 28th to May 3rd, and everything had been planned. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention to you, we were the first. We are the oldest Indian film festival in all of North America, and also the largest in terms of the programming in North America. So we were scheduled to have a festival starting April 28th, but sometime towards the late February, early March, it was beginning to feel that things were getting really bad in New York. And as you remember, New York was like the epicenter of the virus worldwide. New York was the focus really. And even before Tribeca and MoMA's new director, new film festival announced that they would not hold the festival. I think South by Southwest had already announced. We decided we will postpone our festival. We didn't know how we were going to do it. We'd already selected all our films. We'd already invited the filmmaker. We started inviting the filmmakers. Everything was in process. And then we decided to, quote unquote, shut shop. And then, then you start to say, like, when do you do it? What is the best time to do it? And there is really no best time because, the virus is still spreading all across America. And that's the idea of doing it online because theaters are not going to open that soon. So we decided we'll do an online festival. We've been able to get most of the films we selected. It so happened that some of the films that we had selected back in February and January, February have decided to go online because, those filmmakers were also worried about where they're going to be going. And some are negotiating with OTT platforms. They didn't want to come with that. But I've been able to, we were able to get substantially most of the films. From the crisis of 9/11, we are in another crisis now, which is the COVID crisis. It's a global pandemic. The whole world is dealing with it. What better way to celebrate, what better to sort of forget the problems that we are facing than to celebrate cinema and to, we can bring cinema to people's homes. Why not? So that's what we're doing. So our festival scheduled July 24th, which is exactly 2 weeks from now, until August 2nd.
Wow, awesome. That's the way to go. We're going to discuss more about how you're going to bring the festival online, etc. Going to Paul Struthers. So a little bit about Frameline and when did it start? What's the kind of audience base you have? And where is it going now?
Well, Sridhar, thanks so much for inviting me on the panel. And yeah, it's great that you're doing this. Frameline started in 1977, and now Frameline is called the San Francisco International LGBTQ+ Film Festival. I suppose the most famous thing about Frameline really is screening at the Castro Theatre, the most historic queer theatre in the world, 1,400 seats. And when you've got a packed Castro, even half packed, you cannot beat the screening experience. We're fortunate as well with Frameline that not only are we the longest running, we're the largest LGBTQ+ film festival in the world with around 63,000 attendees. And it's also really important that we don't just show in San Francisco. We show at 3 cinemas in San Francisco, but also 1 in Oakland and 1 in Berkeley, because we really want and have a diverse LGBTQ+ audience plus allies. Also of very much importance is we have around 400 guests, whether it's filmmakers, actors, producers, etc. So it really gives a chance for the audience to engage even further than just a Q&A, because a lot of the people will come from all over the world. So you're fortunate to meet them all throughout the festival, have a chat, talk about projects, etc. And also, we're really happy as well because a lot of programmers come from all over the world and see what films we're playing, because we often have world premieres or the first screenings like Inside Out. We're the sort of start of the next run of the festival season, I used to work at the Mardi Gras Film Festival in Sydney, and I used to come to Frameline and then go to Outfest to look at films to take back there. So it's fun to be on the other side now. And yeah, once we talk about online festivals, I can tell you more about that. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Super. And we have Andrea Wilson from Toronto joining in. Please tell us a little bit about your festival and how it's grown and what's the plans a little later.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sridhar, for the invitation. It's so beautiful to see colleagues and friends. This is definitely one of the most challenging parts of the isolation, I find, is like usually we spend this time of the year going to each other's festivals and seeing each other. And so it's so nice to have this connection, even online. So thank you so much. Inside Out is 30 years old this year and takes place in Toronto. We have a very close relationship, obviously, with TIFF, as well as with Hot Docs, the International Documentary Festival here in Toronto, which is a beautiful festival city. It really, so much of the economy and the culture here thrives because of the festivals that are here. And Inside Out has been very proud to be a part of that. So we operate in a similar structure to our colleagues at Frameline or at Outfest in LA. We produce typically an 11-day festival in Toronto. We also produce a festival in Ottawa, which is the capital city of Canada, that typically takes place in the fall, and then year-round programming as well. But what's a bit different about Inside Out is that we have quite a focus on industry and business development for filmmakers. So we produce the world's only feature film financing forum for LGBTQ film. We also have a documentary financing fund and a separate fund that specifically supports LGBTQ women and trans and non-binary filmmakers. So we're very focused on our impact in terms of what are the barriers to not just these films being exhibited, but these films being made. And that's been a big part of Inside Out's growth and mission. And as we look at the future and it being so unprecedented, everything we're going through, we're very excited to see how our role in terms of development and direct financial support to filmmakers expands in this new world.
Wow, awesome. What an awesome set of film festivals and brilliant work all of you have been doing. But where are we heading now with the global pandemic, locking down the theaters and we are not able to do online, on-ground film festivals? So Carrie, you have just completed your film festival online. So do share us, how did it go? What platform did you use? Did you program films which already played at your festival? Did you program new slate of films? How has been the reaction?
Yeah, so obviously we had planned a theatre-based festival. We had all as my colleagues have also said, we had the films booked. We were talking to the filmmakers coming over. We'd even obviously employed talent managers, etc., from India to work on the festival, etc. So what happened was by the end of February, beginning of March, we realised that wasn't going to happen, and Britain was quickly locking down. So we realized that we had a very short space of time to actually come up with a fresh model. And so we checked out webinars that were happening around Europe, and there were different organizations, different platforms talking about what they were doing. Like we, for example, took on board the New Zealand-based platform Shift 72, which was working with CPH Docs and also has been working with Cannes Film Festival. So they're very secure and very efficient website. Looks great. So we used them and we quickly developed a relationship with them. They were very fast at setting us up. So we kind of like looked at the films that we were planning to show, and then we really had to rethink that. I mean, it was really what we could move quickly on. So we looked at so it was about creatively reprogramming what we had. We already had this great short film competition, the Such Deep Ray short film competition. So we decided to put all the winners of those films over the last 9 years onto the platform to start with, and that got a kind of buzz because as soon as the press picked up the word Such Deep Ray, everybody had heard of him before, so that was a good way of getting into like Variety, for example. They gave us the trades. We also then started to show some of our classic films from the kind of audience award-winning films from the previous years, from the last 11 years. So that was really great, and there was a kind of a real warmth between those films, and the filmmakers amazingly gave us their films for free. And it really is to be recognized is that the filmmakers have contributed to that effort, and they gave us their films for free. They didn't quibble about, rights holders. We talked to a few sales agents and distributors, to be fair, and they were kind of like asking for fees, etc. But we couldn't afford to do that because obviously we were when you've got a smaller festival, you have a smaller budget, so we have to go with what we've got. Yeah, so wonderfully, all the filmmakers gave us their films. We had some amazing Q&As. We quickly picked up all our friends from all over the world we've been talking to for the last 10 or 20, actually 25 years in my case, in terms of, so we got to Meera Nair, Deepa Mehta, Shabana Azmi, Frida Pinto, Anurag Kashyap, various people, and Ashwan Khurana, kind of, they all gave in the conversations at our festival. They're all locked down, and I think we've had some of the best conversations we've ever had, actually, because people are also reflective, they're more relaxed because they're talking in their own homes, and that's been really exciting. And the Shabana one was like 2 hours, and I just said to the producer, said, just let it run, because we're not going to get, this is gold dust, we're never going to hear this again, so as long as it lasts, just let it run. Importantly, we also added a whole we always have an LGBT platform, a strand. It's normally called Too Desi, Too Queer. And over the last 4 years or so, we've been pioneering for Asian film festivals, we've been kind of pioneering this kind of Asian LGBT strand, sometimes at our cost, because a lot of people don't like the idea of possibly LGBT in what would be seen as an Indian film festival. So that's sometimes at odds with possibly our audience, but then we'll find a new audience which is a bit more open-minded and funky. So we are, championing queer cinema basically in our festival, but as part of an integrated, all-round festival for everybody. And we show great, we managed to find a very old, for example, a wonderful Sri Lankan lesbian film, Flying on One Wing, which nobody had seen for years. And so that was from 1998, I think it was. So we managed to rediscover that, put that on the platform, create a whole debate around that, and various other new films we were putting on. Our Satyajit Ray short film competition also had, so our straight programmers, in fact, programmed 3 LGBT titles, to their credit. So I keep saying to them, the festival's getting a bit too queer. We got so many.
I know. I got a message. I was forwarded your posters by one of my friend, a straight friend, and he said, like, what is with the London Indian Film Festival? Why is that going queer?
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, as a gay man myself, I think they're all going to blame me because I've chosen queer content, but in fact, I'll blame all my wonderful straight programmers for championing LGBT content. So that's been great because we've continue to build our audience for LGBT audiences in the UK. Lots of Asians here are interested in that content, and also not just LGBT.
But did your audience base increase? I mean, did you manage to find new audiences through the digital platform?
Yeah, definitely. I think that was the amazing thing. Because we truly went UK-wide this time, we were geo-blocked to the UK. But what was fascinating is that we attracted people from all over the UK, not just from London or Birmingham or Manchester, which are our traditional heartlands, but also going right up to Edinburgh, to the, Hebrides. Let's face it, there's South Asians everywhere on the planet. So there's always going to be somebody in some part of the UK, any, tiny little islands off Scotland that will be of Desi origin. So that's the great thing. And now they can check out our content. So we've had heading towards 10,000 people 10,000 ticket sales. They're free screenings to be clear, but they're like 10,000 viewings of content basically. So that's amazing.
Oh, you kept the entire festival free, is it?
Yes, I mean the thing is, in the UK there is so much free content in the arts available. So the only way for us to compete with that effect and to deliver for our audiences, I mean obviously it's lockdown, so we wanted to do something for our audiences to give back. So to be able to offer that for free was what we wanted to do, but also what we had to do because there's so much free content in the UK anyway. So it kind of made sense on both fronts. And we were very happy that, as I said, our filmmakers supported that. We tried to raise money for low paid industry workers in India as part of that process. So that's there's a kind of like a feel good element about that. So yeah, so that's kind of like what we've done. And amazingly, I've got a great team over the last few years. We've developed a wonderful team of kind of passionate, crazy people who will deliver this stuff come hell or high water. We managed to pull all together and it's been a great team effort. And I think and somebody said that what you've invested in the last 10 years will come back to you this year. So I think that was the nice thing about it. That I really felt there was a real feeling of warmth from the audiences. There was a really great energy within the team. All those things that we invested over long term came back to us with a very positive result.
Okay, cool. So in fact, our own festival, Kashish, it's going to start from July 22nd to 30th. We have priced it really low, just 500 rupees for an early bird price and 1,000 rupees later. and $30, but we want to going to give 60% of that to LGBTQ organization working for COVID relief. So we want to give back. I mean, what we want to do is whatever collections comes back, we want to after the discounting the platform charges, give it to the community because they really need it at this point of time. So Aseem, you're just on tenterhooks right now. Your festival is going to start in some time, just like ours. So what is the plan for this year? I think you have spoken a little bit, but if you can elaborate on it, per se, how many films you're showing over, I think you said 9 days, did you say that?
It's going to be 10 days, July 24th to August 2nd. It's that we've never had a 10-day festival. Usually we do, I think the most we've done is 7 or 8 days because, theater, it's very expensive to rent theaters in New York City. So we don't have that issue. We are going with a platform called Movie Saints. In fact, Sridhar, you and I talked and, there was a couple of other platforms. I essentially went for Movie Saints because I know the principal of Movie Saints. I've known him for a very long time. And also the CEO of the organization, Nupma Bose, everybody knows her from Mumbai. So there was an element of trust because I had very little window in terms, once we decided we were going to do it in July, with very little window. The fortunate thing was that, as I said earlier, all the films we had already selected. So we are showing 16 features, 12 narratives and 4 documentaries and about 25 or 30 shorts, which include documentary shorts also. They're all new films. Some of the films have traveled to other festivals, including Mami and other festivals, of course. There may be a couple of films which have not played at many festivals, which is fine. But the one thing I'm really very excited about is that, all these years, people would tell me, my friends would California and then Boston, they would tell me, oh my God, you have such good programming. I'm not bragging about my programming, but I wish we could have something like that happening at our festival. And so, barring one film that's we're going to be showing only in the New York tri-state area, all the other films are at least going to be shown across US, some North America, and quite a few globally. So, I don't know marketing-wise how we reach such a large audience, but at least there is that opportunity to bring in a larger audience. And actually going forward, I think one of the things we've been talking about, if the theaters open next year, I hope the theaters open next year. Otherwise, how we
yeah, I know.
as people, but so we will go back to Manhattan and hold the festival. But upstate New York or Philadelphia or Massachusetts or parts of Canada, we can show our films through I think online is a great platform to discover, really, to reach a larger audience. I'm really excited about that. So we've announced our opening, closing, and centerpiece. Actually, we're doing 2 centerpieces with 2 documentaries. One of them showed at Mami, Auntie Sudha, Auntie Radha, and we're showing another one called Sunrise. Our closing night film is Mutan, which also the India premiere was at Mami. I've been holding on to that film for so long because our festival just keeps getting delayed. But Geetu Mohandas has been, both Geetu and Rajiv have given us all their films, so it's been wonderful. And we're opening with a lovely film called Run Kalyani, and so I didn't even think in terms of, I realized initially that we were going to open and closing with 2 Malayali language films, but we not only opening and closing with 2 films from Kerala, both are directed by women filmmakers. And I think I'm very thrilled about that we were able to do that without intentionally planning it like that. It just worked out like that. And yeah, I'm very excited about our documentaries. I'm very excited about some of the shorts. So yeah, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. It's a new experience. I mean, I know Carrie was doing his festival because it was you had geo-blocked UK, so I couldn't see. I such regrets that I couldn't see Mississippi Masala because I saw it back in 1992 when it opened, and Meera promised that she'll release it somehow or the other. It just doesn't stream anywhere. But IFLA in Los Angeles, Christina Maruda's festival, actually did something rather wonderful. They did 17 years of their best films, and I thought, how good was that? I went and saw Little Zizou again. I saw Johnny Gadar again. Films that are not streaming anywhere. We're showing only new films,
Wow.
So new for our audience. So yeah.
Fantastic. I'm going to come back to you. And Paul, your festival always happens in June, right, or July? Did you happen to postpone it? Are you bringing it digital? How is the way forward for you?
So yeah, the festival Frameline is always in June, the last couple of weeks of June or the first couple of weeks of June. It just depends on where different dates fall, etc. And around March, we sort of knew internally that we're not going to be able to have an in-person festival. So we basically focused a lot on fundraising in April. And then in May, because it's the 50th anniversary of SF Pride, we thought we have to do something with Frameline in June to coincide with that. So we started a festival called the Frameline 44 Pride Showcase. It ran for 4 days. And to be honest, it was a lot of work because we pulled it together from May until it started on June 25th to 28th. And it was a lot of work finding the right platform. My colleagues did a great job and found CineSend. And when I saw it for the first time, it looks so good. You know, it just looks like a streaming platform. And then programming was really interesting because at first, a lot of the filmmakers, distributors, sales agents were slightly hesitant to online. But once May got to mid-May, towards the end of May, films were sort of dropping out of the sky. And I mean like high caliber films. Like we had 2 world premieres ahead of the curve and Denise Ho Becoming the Song. We had a film from HBO, Welcome to Chechnya. We had an episode of The Shy from Showtime. Like things were just dropping out of the sky. And what was really beautiful about the festival and what Carrie mentioned, there are some silver linings. Like the talent we have access to might not necessarily have the time to attend the festival. For example, we had Jackie Weaver, who's been nominated for 2 Oscars. We had Maya Taylor from Tangerine and various other films. We had Gemma Arterton, who's been in Bond. We had some really excellent live and recorded Q&As. We did a variety of Q&As. Some were live, some were pre-recorded, and people really embraced them. And something that the filmmakers behind Ahead of the Curve had the idea was their film was the world premiere. It's about the beginnings of Curve magazine, and also it's a local film. So Curve magazine's like the biggest, most well-known queer women, lesbian magazine of all time. And they came to us, they're like, this is our world premiere. Can we do a drive-in? And so we were just like, okay, let's do it. And we did it. We had around 800 cars for their world premiere. They just got a glowing review in the Hollywood Reporter. It went really, really well. And another thing to note as well that's really interesting, my boss and another colleague thought that we're doing this for the audience, for members, for sponsors, for donors. How can we create the same vibe as Frameline? And they came up with a genius idea. Basically, one day, social distance, we all went to the Castro and recorded intros. Then another day, Frameline is really known because a couple of sessions every day, the organist will play. So we went and recorded the organist. Well, I didn't go. Other people went. I shouldn't have said I. Other people went and recorded the organist. So we had these intros from the Castro Theatre, which people love, before every film. We had the organist before some films, but also on our platform access. And the amount of positive feedback we've had about not just the programming, but the extras and the platform has been unbelievable. And I feel that once you do one, the next one hopefully will be a lot easier. Now we're starting to plan our next festival because we postponed, and at first we weren't going to do something in June, but then we decided to. But in our postponement, we said we were going to do something in fall. So we're looking at a 10-day festival in the last couple of weeks in September, which looks like it's going to be virtual. And one final thing about virtual, another silver lining is we have to remember many people with disabilities can't access our festivals. So for them to have the option to see films online is super important, and it's something we should all be looking at in the future. Even if we can go back to in person, there's still some folks who can't access, you know? So I think that's another silver lining. All in all, it was a lot of work that thankfully people enjoyed. Soon, well, today I need to start focusing on September and wrangling some more films, but that's the work, you know?
Wow, that's awesome to hear that. Like, that's a great experience sharing. Thanks a lot, Paul. Andrea, your festival happens in July, right? Every year. What's the status now?
Yeah, so we're typically end of May, and so we were in a similar position to Aseem, where we had to kind of make the call in March, as the House of Cards was kind of falling, right, with South by and then everything. So we also made the decision to postpone. At the time, we announced our dates as being the first 2 weeks of October. Primarily because that was the next window where our primary venue, which of course is the TIFF Bell Lightbox, had available for a festival our size. So when we made that call, we really, like so many of us, had no idea what the fall would look like, and just wanted to be able to keep our staff, hold on to the programming that we had already locked. And then, figure out the best way to deliver the rest of our programs that we offer. So we are moving forward. The festival will be primarily a digital experience at this point, looking at the restrictions that are still very much going to be in place here in Toronto through the fall. But we are also exploring other hybrid models, of course, the drive-in model and other things that are quite interesting, that are now emerging. But we did deliver our, the international component of our Film Finance Forum. We carried out in May. And I'll say that, to speak to the point about silver linings, it was absolutely our most successful edition of the forum yet. We had 10 incredible feature projects from all over the world. And all of those producers were able to have amazing meetings with industry executives that, to Paul's point, it can be challenging to get folks to travel to your festival when they have a very busy schedule. So in our case, we didn't have to fly anyone to Toronto. We were able to really curate and customize the meetings. So everyone that the filmmakers were meeting with was actually someone who was, very well aligned to support their film. So we had very successful meetings, and that was a huge learning for us, because now we see a future for events like that are much more caring to the filmmakers' mental health as well, in terms of the stress of those. We've all done those speed dating meetings, like this. And that doesn't work for everyone, and can be very stressful as an experience. And when it's happening in the midst of a super hectic festival, and you also have a film screening, and it can be a lot. So that was a great learning for us that we'll definitely be carrying forward in terms of delivering those programs. And then in terms of the film festival itself, we had, similar to Aseem, already confirmed quite a bit of content that we will be screening in the fall. And then right now our team is reviewing everything else that's coming down the pike that will be available for, festivals like Frameline and us, taking place now in that September, October window. But moving forward, I think it's most realistic to think about hybrid models and really, mining these successful elements that we've been able to discover through pivoting to the digital side.
Wow, that's awesome. And like Smriti, you have been keeping yourself so busy throughout the lockdown. Totally. Mami has been spearheading so many different kinds of programs, screenings and panel discussions and Q&As, and amazing work you people are doing. So just talk a little bit about that. How do you kind of been virtually busy all the time? And also, what's the plans for your October festival? Yeah.
Thanks, Sridhar. First of all, I think everyone had it harder. Everyone on this group had it harder than us because our festival for this year is scheduled for November. So we didn't have to, I can't even imagine how it feels to have to cancel your festival or come up with a model, and test that model out when you're 2 weeks or 3 weeks or even 6 weeks away from the festival. I think everyone here knows that, people who organize and work at festivals work at a completely different timeline. So your event can be in July, but for you, the event has begun 3 months before you actually hit, day one. What we did was we also run a very robust year-round program. And we've taken the year-round program, we came up with something called home theater, where we do screenings. And frankly speaking, the learnings, like Paul was saying and Andrea was saying, the learnings are amazing because I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. Why it took a pandemic to think about the fact that if you went digital or at least tried it, your audience base is going to just quadruple, because everybody cannot travel to Mumbai or to Toronto or to New York or, different places to attend a film festival. So this is the best way of doing this. And as everybody knows, India has, it's almost like Europe. It has 20 to 23 film cultures. People are crazy about films. It's almost like a religion. The response was staggering. The moment we went digital, we would never be able to service the number of people we were able to service through the home theater. We launched our knowledge series where we do very curated masterclasses with film professionals, which we've been wanting to do for a very long time, and we were going to launch it this year. So we launched that. We are taking the Young Critics Lab by the time this discussion is broadcast. We would have already announced the Young Critics Lab going digital. We will do the word to screen market. These are all verticals that we did through the year that eventually culminated into the October event. We are taking everything online, but what we will not be doing, and I shouldn't be saying this because in the off chance, and probably we would have already announced what our plans for November are by the time this discussion is aired. What I feel is that a festival is essentially a on-ground event, because the whole idea is for the people to meet and people to, whatever we need to do digitally, we would do that through a year-round program, which is do knowledge sessions. And like Paul said, the accessibility to talent has increased because everybody doesn't have the time to fly out to your festival and come here. And the thing is that there is a very strong possibility that Mami might not happen this year. Like, we don't know whether it'll happen or not, but the cases in India are just increasing by the day. We've not even peaked as yet. We are still in a lockdown. I don't know how theaters, at least in Bombay, will open because Mumbai is the epicenter like New York was. And we are now number 3. So our rating in the world in terms of the pandemic is going up alarmingly on a daily basis. So having on-ground events, I think, particularly in India, it's not going to be possible. So what you will see in the coming months is a lot of engagement online. And I don't think that even when we start to do things on ground, we are going to stop doing them online, because the kind of access it's given us, the way people have responded to it, I don't think that we'll be letting go of that.
Okay, I'm just going to quickly talk about how is this, I know there's an economic meltdown also because of the global lockdown. What is the reaction of the sponsors who you have worked with regularly? KASHISH definitely has suffered because a lot of our sponsors have withdrawn their support, mainly because they are themselves, the companies themselves are undergoing a meltdown per se. So what has been the reaction with Carrie and Aseem? Quickly, just some bites. Carrie?
Well, we are co-funded by the British Film Institute, so thankfully the BFI understood what we were going through and have supported us. And the Bagri Foundation likewise knew that we were they were, you know, delighted and surprised that we managed to pull up these kind of audiences for a digital festival. But yeah, so we've got two great sponsors. Our other supporters, like obviously like hotel partners, flight partners, etc., couldn't be involved with us this year for obvious reasons. However, they've wished us well, and they helped promote the festival, in fact, across their different companies. So yeah, I think we're just lucky that we have got two major core sponsors that keep us, that we can offer free content, of course, and that we can, they've been with us for many years. So we have a level of trust, and obviously the British government want to keep the film industry running. So BFI is the UK government's kind of outlet for that. So yeah, so that support's been there.
Thank you. Aseem?
This was very tough for us because, as Carrie said, our main sponsors were hotel and airline sponsors. So that, in any case, we were not seeing, and that's when we decided to shut the festival. But the US economy has really gone south, and especially the economy in New York really also, with unemployment going so high. So it's been a struggle for us. We're still raising money. The one advantage of doing something online is that I don't have to book theater space in Manhattan, which is hugely expensive.
Right.
So there is some cost savings there, and therefore, as a result of which, in Manhattan, ticket prices right now are like $19, $20 if you go see a film. I mean, theaters are closed right now, but back in February, March, that's the price was. And we used to charge about $20 per screening, but we were showing a film that had not been shown in New York area, and we were able to bring at least one director or a cast member for a post-screening conversation, which the audience would not get an opportunity to. We have substantially reduced our ticket pricing. It's going to be around $5, and we will also, since we're opening globally, it's going to be much less in India. But there are so many other advantages. So yeah, so sponsorship has been a big challenge, but there's so many other advantages. I mean, we could only bring one person from every film to, because bringing them and putting them in a hotel, even though it was discounted, etc., taking care of them for a few days in Manhattan. Carrie's actually been to our festival, so and he came on his own expenses.
A lot of us do.
We couldn't bring short filmmakers. In fact, Carrie even won an award at a festival. But now I can do pre-recorded, like just what we're doing. I can do pre-recorded conversations with the entire cast and the director and producers of some films, which is a great advantage. They're all in India and they're all locked down, so it's not like anybody's not home really. So it's easy to set time and date also. So there are advantages. One of the big challenges for me has been, I'm still in India. I came back from New York back in December, and I was supposed to go to Berlin in February. I had a back surgery, I didn't go. And I was supposed to go to New York end of March, and I didn't go. So, but my entire team, my bosses and everybody else is in New York. And sometimes, they decide to do a conference call, a Zoom call at 3 p.m., which is, I don't know, 1:30, 2 in the morning or 3. So my sleep pattern is really affected. I mean, I start to work literally at this hour now. I'll be sending emails, which I'm getting from New York now. And
I know.
But it's okay. I'm not complaining. I think I think Smriti said I think we all discovered this world of online. We were watching films online for so long, but never realized that it was such a wonderful way we can reach out to people also. So yeah, a larger audience.
Right. What about you, Paul and Andrea?
In terms of sponsorship, my main job is programming. So my colleague David handles all the sponsorship. But what I've seen is great retention of sponsors. People have happily pivoted to online and have been really responsive. And as we all know, festivals can't survive just on ticket sales. So sponsors are super valuable. So my colleagues David and Alberto have really pivoted and really changed what we can deliver via online. And from what I've seen, it seems like they've done a great job of retaining, and it's looking in good shape, which is really wonderful and a testament to Frameline's impact on the sponsors, but also on the world, that even during these times, they're still going to stick by us. So yeah, we're seeing rather good retention, which is wonderful, obviously.
Wow, awesome. Andrea?
Yeah, it's quite fascinating because I think this situation, the way that festivals, you know, like some of ours that have been perceived historically as a niche or like, you know, more specific audience festival in a larger market, are actually, I think, in many ways faring better in terms of our sponsor relationships than some of the major mainstream festivals, because there is an inherent community-driven, identity-driven, more philanthropic connection to many of our sponsors, right? Like, as an LGBTQ festival in a major market, the majority of our partners support us because they want to show support for their employees that are from the community, or they have a mandate and mission that is about, you know, diversity and inclusion and so on. So we have been able to maintain those relationships and keep those commitments, where some of our more mainstream festival colleagues have had challenges because they're the sponsors support them often for that huge public impact, right? For the closing the street and having the, you know, big installation, or, you know, things like that. So it's been very interesting to see that dynamic kind of play out. And something that I'll say too that I find interesting to look at towards the future, you know, I love what Carrie said about, you know, being able to offer the program for free. And I think, you know, it ties into that access point so deeply. And one thing that one of our major sponsors responded to is that we wanted to offer some online programming through the summer, not a festival, but just, you know, some short films and so on that would be accessible to help people feel connected. And they underwrote the costs of that so that it would be free. And I think that's a really interesting model for us all to take forward and consider, is ways to, you know, as Paul said, we can't rely on box office alone, and less so now more than ever. So to have be able to pivot our sponsorships into covering those hard costs and creating more access is something very exciting, I think.
And Smriti, you have your geo star. That's
the thing is that, you know, like I said, that I think we were at anyways an advantageous position because we were so far away. So we could make a lot of changes and give prior notice to a lot of people and figure things out because of the length of time that we had. But a lot of the support comes from people who are worst hit, like the airlines, the hotels, you know, so asking them for support at this point of time is not tenable. It doesn't even make sense. But I think, like Andrea and Paul was saying, everybody got onto supporting MAMI because they wanted to create, you know, they wanted to build an institution. They wanted to create a world-class film festival. So they're very committed to it. And right now, in fact, we've not kind of, you know, made any demands because we are just trying to find the best way of making sure that our sponsors are not inconvenienced in any way because we have the luxury of time. So, you know, we've kept in touch with them. We keep telling them what is happening, and we've created a lot of low-cost activities which are very useful. So they're quite happy with you know, the programming avenues that we've created right now, and those are only going to get stronger.
okay. In fact, like Kashish basically has been, it's a mixed pie of funding. We basically, we don't rely on the ticket sales as much. Traditionally, we charge really low ticket sales. But basically, we have had sponsors, some have stayed with us, like Morgan Stanley, IBM, and the consulates, the Canadian consulate and the Quebec consulate. They've stayed with us. Basically, for them, basically the engagement with the community is more important. That's what they've come for, and they stayed with that. We also do crowdfunding. So we have a small crowdfunding component, and we already fulfilled 85% of it. So that's amazing. So people are basically, they have placed that trust and faith at the festival, and they continue to do so. And really hoping that, like, yeah, all of us can make a transition into this digital world, create digital festivals, and maybe that, as you said, like maybe create a hybrid festival per se as we go along. So I think we're going to close this particular panel discussion. It's been amazing. So any last thoughts, Carrie, then I go to Aseem, one round of last thoughts. What do you want to just share if you want to talk about what is the future of film festivals? What do you see as?
Well, I should say that I see our future of our festival will be a hybrid model, given that we can now reach to a broader audience, and we've now felt out and realized there's a lot more people out there than we thought in terms that are interested in this kind of cinema. So yeah, and in terms of queer programming, our LGBT audiences are growing all the time. There's a real appetite for this kind of product and this kind of films, so that we see that expanding. And yeah, so I think it's really a really positive spin. I mean, we're really happy that the year is, surprisingly for us, has kind of grown. We'll be putting a few films, aiming to put a few films, a mini festival in September into the cinemas. The Institut Français are helping us in London. So yeah, so I think that's going to be exciting, just being back in the cinema, which will be quite exciting, getting a real, sense of the audience. Obviously, we'll be social distancing all the seats, etc. But it's going to be an exciting new world.
Right. Aseem?
It's all very new. I'm learning things every day in terms of issues related to, I've been the festival director for 10 or 11 years, I lost count. So I knew how to run a film festival in Manhattan at the scale we used to do it. I mean, Smriti does a festival which covers the entire Mumbai. Hats off to her, really. But in our own small way. But this has been the learning challenge. I'm just excited because it was so disappointing to say no, because we were so close to opening our festival and everything was all set, and I had such good films lined up and everything, and we were going to get all these people to come and visit New York, and it was going to be our 20th anniversary, so we were going to do a lot of special events, etc. And it all died down. But I'm glad that we decided not to. We first thought, let's wait till things cool down, maybe October, maybe September, end September. I'm like, let's just do it now. Let's do it because let's show the films. Since the lockdown started, every week I recommend one film that our members can watch on Netflix or I don't give them links, but Amazon. So I've been doing that for the last 3 months, 4 months. But I needed to bring new films to people also, which they had not seen. And I'm happy I'm doing it. And, hopefully it'll all go well.
That's good. Paul?
I think the most important thing I've learned, if you're doing your online festival for the first time, it's really what is it that's special about your festival and how can you translate it onto online so you can create that vibe, That's what I've seen our audiences really, really, really engage with. And I think another important factor of online is when it comes to LGBTQ plus cinema, a lot of the films that Frameline or Inside Out or Outfest have played haven't been picked up for distribution, aren't currently available. So it's also a chance not just to play new films, but also look back, because there's a lot of folks who have just come out, they've only come to our festivals once, and they'd love to see some of the films we've all loved and cherished. So I feel as though it's a time to really look back and put that out there. And again, in terms of hybrid, I think there's positives, people with disabilities, as I've mentioned, but also what do people consume? People watch Netflix or Hulu or whatever the streamers are in your various countries. Like, we have to keep up with the times because it's going to build our audience and also give access to folks who might not feel a festival's for them, and it might be their entry point. And when we do go back to in-person, who knows, they might come to the cinema and really, really enjoy the festival. It's tough for all of us with COVID, with the Black Lives Matter movement, which is so, so important. But I'm just trying to look at the silver linings and the positives that can come out of it for folks who don't tend to engage or have access. So I think there's some positives to be had from virtual. And hybrid is going to be the future. It has to be. I'm shocked it's taken us so long.
Andrea?
Yeah, I echo that absolutely. And I think that, in addition to this opportunity to really, for festivals to reevaluate how we reach our audiences and who our audiences are and how we connect them with content, this is also an incredible opportunity to truly support our filmmakers and truly look at how we're delivering our programs and what they need right now, what they need in the long term, how we can support their career development, their personal development, and their health. And I think that we know from everything that's happened in 2020 from a content perspective and some of the large festivals scaling their programs down so significantly, that there will be issues for several years to come in terms of the films not following what we have considered a traditional circuit, right? And so I think we all have to look at our models, look at our structures, look at how we engage with content, how we compensate our filmmakers, and so on, and really make sure that they're centered in the work that we do, because, you know, without them, we have nothing to show. So.
Yeah, in fact, like one of the reasons we decided to go virtual and hold the festival, because we had a commitment to almost 165 filmmakers who had given, whose films were shortlisted to play at the main festival. And we thankfully almost playing 157 of them, 95% of the filmmakers agreed to go digital with us. That was amazing. And the only reason we are doing the festival is audience is one thing, but I think we had a commitment to the filmmakers to show their films, which they made with so much of love, and basically showing the films to empower the audiences, LGBTQ and non-LGBTQ per se. Smriti, and also I just want to mention that this particular panel discussion is supported by MAMI Film Festival. Their partners, their industry partners, and they have offered to support this particular panel discussion. Thank you, Smriti, for that. Your closing remarks, and we can close down. Thank you.
So I think I agree with everything that everybody said, because you know, the other thing, I mean, I just want to add to this, because in terms of you know, professional sort of learnings, I think the pandemic has just forced us to innovate and showed us things that we could have done 5 years ago, but we didn't, because, you know, we didn't think about it. And it's really good that it's forced us to think like this. I think I'm never complaining about travel again. I cannot believe that so much of it that was supposed to happen this year is not going to happen. So I ain't complaining about traveling to festivals again and not having time and this, that, and the other. I think it also made us acutely aware. And I think I can say this not only with the Black Lives Matter movement, but India had one of the biggest humanitarian crises during the pandemic. The migration of laborers was even more voluminous than the partition, and the way we've treated our poor is just, I mean, I have no words to, I'm speechless at the way that piece has played out. And therefore the thing is that I think it's, for me, it's become more about, you know, cherishing and pushing art and a political voice even more fiercely than before. And like we've all seen, people have turned to art, you know, different film, books, you know, any kind of art in such a, I mean, almost everyone is either watching something or reading something or taking inspiration from whatever is written on social media. So I think it only tells us how important it is for all of us to work together. So one thing that I would really like to see happen is a synergy between festivals, a true collaboration, and you know, sort of going easy on premiere statuses, and also blocking, you know, because it doesn't matter. The people who are watching a film in Toronto are not watching it in India. So it also makes all of that very pointless, that, you know, what are we, like, is that a sponsor, this thing? What are we competing about? Why is it necessary for a film to start with you? The film can start somewhere and come and peak at your festival as well. So I think those are the things, like, of course, a hybrid model is the way to go in the future. But I think we also need to have a deeper, you know, look at the kind of boundaries that we create at festivals, and whether those boundaries are actually because of the vanity of the festival, or is it really serving the community and serving the audience and other stakeholders. I just want to say that.
Wow. Thanks a lot for your words, and all of you have been brilliant, and all of you are my friends, and I always wanted to bring all of you to Mumbai for the film festival together, but finally we are doing it online. But yeah, Aseem has come for the festival, as Smriti, of course, has been to the festival, but like, it's great that all of you are able to join this conversation, and big cheers.
We'll celebrate your 20th anniversary next year, and if the world is restored to whatever it was before that and people can travel and come, All of you have to come to Mami 2021. So keep your October calendar open.
Welcome.
That's fine.
Love Mami.
Paul, Andrea, Carrie came last year. Aseem comes every year. Sridhar's always invited, but the two of you definitely need to visit Mumbai.
Yes.
Love to.
Yes, we're in. We're in.
We're in. We'll see you there.
All right. So thanks a lot for joining in and a great discussion. So happy film festival making for all of us. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank
Now-
you.